The state's madrasa survey has indicated gross misconduct in the management of several madrasas located in Prayagraj and Moradabad. The madrasas under the scanner have reportedly failed to provide satisfactory information of their sources of funding and affiliation. Remember, the survey had 11 points in it, and two most important among them were about disclosing the source of funding and affiliations. 800 madrasas in 20 districts across the state have been deemed unrecognized, and the survey will continue until the 20th. That's the question we asked, that is the law finally catching up in the state of Uttar Pradesh? What is it that the experts can tell us, and more importantly, what are the plausible actions of, the key actions that the state government can take? The state government says we are not against madrasas, but we want a certain kind of procedure, we want a certain kind of structure under which they are going to operate. Joining us on this very important debate is Mr. Tushar Gupta, who is the senior editor of Swaraj magazine. Atikur Rahman, who is an Islamic scholar, is also joining us on this entire debate. Mr. Atikur Rahman, I'm coming to you first. How do you see the action of the UP government? They say there are many madrasas where the source of funding and their affiliations are not known.
Anusha, since 3 or 4 years, the UP government, mainly Yogi Adityanath, the chief minister, is going round and round saying that they want to modernize madrasas. They want to, create some kind of a legality. The illegal madrasas are there. But we are not seeing any of these arguments the light of the day. Now again, the survey has come in wherein the madrasa officials have gladly invited the state officials to come into it, make a survey. All the 11, 12 points, whatever they are, they have been, addressed to. And now since, I think some 15 days back, this began. Since now they cannot find anything which is clumsy, which is doubtful in nature, any illegality they could. The state government seems to be rattled that after so much of this thing, they could not find anything untoward. Illegality as far as the aspect goes, the buildings are there. Are the madrasas the only buildings in the state which are illegal? According to the Delhi chief minister, if they go about illegality in the structures, half of Delhi will be wiped off, bulldozing it. So why only single out the madrasas? If we want to really modernize the madrasas, the white paper of the state government, we are looking towards, if they are having any white paper, they should present it.
Okay, Tushar Gupta, why are the madrasas being singled out? There are various illegal structures across the country. There is no audit of any other religious structures which is being done. Why madrasas are under the target, quote unquote, what Mr. Rahman is arguing. Respond to that.
Good evening, Anusha. Anusha, who said other illegal structures are not being audited or not being taken down? All the other illegal structures are being taken down. But the problem is when the government comes for the illegal structures, suddenly people find religion in bulldozers. Suddenly people find religion in illegal structures. Suddenly people find religion in illegally occupied spaces. Now coming to the question of the madrasas, there are over 16,000 registered madrasas in Uttar Pradesh alone. There are more than 40 million people who are Muslims in Uttar Pradesh alone. Now is someone going to really tell us that all the madrasas are being shut down by the government in UP? Absolutely not. Are Muslims being singled in UP? Absolutely not. Look at madrasas. At the end of the day, beyond the politics, beyond the bickering, the political bickering, it's a educational institution which is imparting education to young children. Now, there is a religious teaching imparted, fine. It's a madrasa, let that go on. The constitution gives that right, the BJP doesn't. Fair point. But at the same time, the government has to ensure, which is funding these madrasas or supporting these madrasas in whatever way, or even the madrasas it is not supporting, that there is some structure when it comes to how these madrasas are being funded, the infrastructure, are there advocate toilets, classrooms, blackboards, teachers?
No, Tushar, I want to bring in another aspect. I want to bring in another aspect as well, in addition to what you're already saying. And Rahman Sir, please respond to this. One cannot deny the fact that there are certain institutions or so-called madrasas that run in the country that propagate a very extremist Wahhabi ideology. And yes, Tushar, make your point, then I'll take in Mr. Rahman. Go ahead.
Anusha, I'm coming to that. Now, the government wants to start with ensuring the infrastructure is adequate. The children are being imparted the right education. We want them to have the religious teaching, yes, but we also want them to keep up with the NCERT curriculum, which is important when they go out when they're 16 or 18 years old. Now, coming to the very important part, in the lieu of what has happened lately with the PFI involvement in several places, with the religious teachings, with the radicalization going on, it is very important for the government government to have at least on paper, on record, what is going on in these madrasas. What is so wrong about it? Do we want any madrasa to come up where radicalization is being propagated? Absolutely not. So this is also one very important aspect. It's not about singling out any community or the madrasas as a whole. It's just having the record where what is being taught and it's not being radicalized.
Mr. Rehman, even if I were to address your argument head on, that they are being singled out, let me argue this to you rather provocatively. Not that I agree or disagree with this entire argument. It's just a question that I want to ask you. You can't deny the problem of radicalization. You can't deny the fact that there are certain so-called madrasas that run in the country where Wahhabi or extremist ideologies are being propagated. Across the world, when we talk about the issue of global terrorism, there are certain disputed religious institutions and madrasas in this case which have been allegedly and conclusively in some cases under the scanner. Some cases came forward in the state of Assam as well. We can't brush these problems under the carpet anymore.
Anusha, for your kind information, or what should I say, no madrasa within the borders of Indian government, the Indian state, teach anything radical, no Wahhabism, nothing of that sort. They are already under so much of pressure, whether it is financial or otherwise. I do agree that they do not have a very good curriculum as far as we expect to modernize the madrasas. As far as the charge of radicalization goes, Anusha, it's a stereotype related to the Muslim community, Islam, created by the Western world. I do agree when the Kerala governor points out this. He also mentions some books, 2 books mentioned, and those 2 books are written by the Pakistani authors.
That's right.
I do agree that Pakistan and Afghanistan madrasas were misused or utilized for the sake of the US government as far as the Cold War was going on in the 1980s till recently. But in India, let me assure you, the madrasa officials are on record. They have shown to the government under no circumstances their syllabi do carry on any Wahhabi teaching, and the Wahhabi teaching, if it is at all, it is not having any terrorism in it, Anusha. Now to charge a particular community and the madrasas with these, claims which have no proof.
Okay, no, sir. With due respect, Tushar, I'm coming to you. Tushar, I'm coming to you. Mr. Rehman sir, with due respect, when we ask questions, the attempt is not to label the community. The attempt is that all the arguments which are there in a public discourse are answered by a scholar like you, which is very important. That being said, I do think that Tushar has a couple of points to make. Tushar, is there a stereotype which is being played out? And I'm talking about public discourse, mainstream media, everywhere.
Absolutely not, Anusha. Mr. Rehman here says that some of these madrasas are under immense financial pressure. The government acknowledges that. That's why the governments want to have an audit. That's why the governments want to have a record that where's the funding coming from? Is the funding adequate enough? You say that the madrasas are under pressure, and then you also do not allow the government to help these madrasas and then say, oh, they are being stereotyped, oh, they are being singled out. Look, at the end of the day, we have to talk about the real stakeholders here, which are the young children. They need to be taught the right curriculum, which is the religious teaching, along with the NCERT curriculum or whatever the government subscribes to. So you can't just make it about politics, make it about singling out a community. At the end of the day, there are 40 million Muslims in Uttar Pradesh, many of them who have voted for Yogi Adityanath earlier this year in the UP elections. So let's not make it about Hindu versus Muslim or the government versus the Muslims.